Pleasure to be here today. The CRD rotary indexing product from Nexen. It's known, as you mentioned, as the compact ring drive. We refer to it as CRD. Nexen, of course, is a manufacturer. We have a history, a long-time U.S. manufacturer of mechanical motion control products. We're headquartered in Vadnais Heights, Minnesota, manufacturing plant in Webster, Wisconsin. And really, Nexen's dedicated to engineering. So our focus is on reliable products that add value to machine designs. And of course, the subject for today is programmable rotary indexing. That's the focus. In the example featured, I'd like to just show everyone to start with on the right. If we look at the diagram on the right, what you'll see is a circular disc. And the circular disc is labeled as the dial plate. On the dial plate, you have basically some part and fixture weight. It's loaded on the top, and these are at various positions around the actual plate. The number of stations, it's really related to the index move. So you see the left is an animation, and this is a typical indexing application. The dial plate, of course, is indexing at a certain angular displacement, and that's a programmable move with the Nexen CRD product. The parts, of course, are assembled. You do some work, and you're taking parts on and off of the conveyor. So off of the conveyor onto the dial plate, you do an assembly procedure, you index to the next station, and this is very typical of what we see for the indexing motion. So if we focus a little bit on the Nexen CRD product line, and this is just showing you a visual of the compact ring drive. What we're looking at is the CRD MR series. This is the product that has 3 distinct models from Nexen. So what we're doing here is we're allowing the customer to look at different options. And on the left, we actually have an IP65 rated sealed unit, which is referred to as the MRS. And in the middle, you have the MRG. On the right is what we refer to as the MRO. So the MRS is a sealed version. Perhaps you have a demanding environment where, in an application, you want it to be sealed up. The MRG does not have a seal. So there is no seal on the output for that MRG product line. The nice thing about that, in certain applications, if your environment is not aggressive, you can get more torque out of the product because you do not have the seal drag, which is basically torque due to friction. And then, of course, the MRO version on the right is completely open. This is really going to be the most cost-effective solution that Nexen offers. And one thing about it, on the different models, we also have different sizes. So what we're showing you is a CRD 150 size, a 250, and a 350. And these, of course, are different sizes. So the ratio meaning the ratio from the gear teeth to the pinion, it varies based on size as well. So on the CRD 150, we have a 9:1 ratio. We have a 12.5:1 ratio on the size 250 and a 17:1 ratio on the 350. That can be important because whenever we do put power to these systems, you're going to have the inertia reflected as through the square of the ratio, or the torque reflected back to the motor. So we'll show you how that works. So another thing that Nexen will offer, since we were talking about a typical dial plate option, we will take care of supplying the dial plate. And Nexen can do this, and we have pre-configured dial plates for all of the CRD products. Typically steel, aluminum, those are what we run into as far as material. And if you wanted it to be customized, it's possible that there could be some additional machining done at the particular stations. And that's typically done for fixtures. Customers, whenever they're going to put their fixturing, they will require some additional machining. So that's a possibility if we need that done, but a lot of times customers will take care of that. So really, when you look at indexing, the CRD, it can be thought of as the heart of the machine cell. We have a rotary solution, and this is basically configured just underneath the dowel plate. So if we were to look at the example on the right, you will see a machine cell, and the machine cell has a dowel plate in the center, and underneath that would be the Nexen CRD product. Of course, the CRD product is a programmable item, so we are the mechanical indexing solution, and then there would be a programmable motor that would be installed at the input of our product. So on the left, what I'm detailing is the Nexen CRD product, and all the way to the motor adapter, which is the aluminum square piece. Then you can actually bolt on the power source, which would be a programmable motor. And that's what we're looking at here. Okay. So that does allow for a very accurate automation. And part of that is the unique Nexen feature, which is the roller pinion technology. So the design of the roller pinion, this feature is really what is utilized in every compact ring drive product from Nexen. The roller pinion, it utilizes needle bearings. The needle bearings, they're pressed into the flanges. The bearings are supported, and the bearings support the rollers. So what you're seeing on the visual is I'm detailing the needle bearing, but also showing you the rollers. And the rollers are supported by the bearings on both sides of the pinion where those flanges are. So the pinion is put into a mesh in the unique gear tooth profile that we have. And what that does is that's preload. So you're preloading the pinion into the gear, and this preload allows so that the rollers are in opposition to each other. So on the lower left where we show the rollers in opposition, we are loading the rollers in opposition into the unique contour of the gear tooth profile. One roller opposite the other, one in the center. And the one in the center is really not bottoming out into the root. And so by applying preload, we are eliminating the backlash. And that's what makes this very unique technology, so that it is very accurate with zero backlash, and a very smooth rolling motion is what you're getting. So if we were to look at this, just give you an idea, when you see the pinion with the actual gear, you see a very smooth rolling motion. This allows for a very accurate system. It's low friction. We can take care of high speeds. And also what customers really like about this is it is very low maintenance. So you get a lot of nice features mechanically, but it is very low maintenance as well. And we're showing you a photo of a gear mated to a bearing with the pinion on the right. So that's what's inside of the product. When you look at the CRD product and you say, hey, what's inside this? Well, what we do is we take the superior roller pinion design, and then we incorporate a high quality cross roller bearing. So the high quality cross roller bearing, that's important. It does provide for stiffness. It's ideal for high load applications. So we make sure that this is inside of every single CRD product. The cross roller bearing is really nice for axial, radial, and moment load demands. If you're not familiar with a cross roller bearing, I've kind of highlighted down below the rollers and how this works. And then on the right as well, you can kind of see that. So these, I guess this would be referred to as the components that go inside of the casting of the CRD product from Nexen. So if we were to take a look at some examples here, let me just go ahead and play this. This is actually a very high inertia load on a small CRD 250 product from Nexen. And for that particular visual with a very high inertia load, that is a very smooth motion that we're getting out of a very small unit. This is really showing the real unique feature of the roller pinion technology. And on the right, that's a very large index dowel plate. And that dowel plate is being indexed programmably. Angular displacement is programmable. Okay? So smooth motion is what I'm demonstrating in those videos. A typical dial plate rotary indexing application from Nexen. What we're going to do is we're going to look at a freely programmable need, and we're going to look at the displacement. We're going to look at the motion profile. A typical triangular motion profile is shown in this visual. On the left, you're seeing where the actual Nexen CRD product is, the dial plate on top of it. There's stations that you have where you're putting weight and fixtures. And we're going to take care of the application requirements and do some calculations for you. Typically, it's index displacement, index time, the dial plate inertia, the fixture and part weight inertia, and then also accuracy and repeatability come into play, because whenever you're actually indexing from station to station, the customers are very much in demand for accuracy. And so this is important to us. What you're seeing is you're just seeing some different ways of looking at calculating inertia for dial plate, calculating inertia for the weight at the radius. But the idea is that we will analyze the system and make a recommendation for a complete solution. We're very much dedicated to the engineering focus on this. And so any help will actually provide that. Okay. A nice feature for the CRD product, and this is available on all of the castings that are part of the CRD. It includes a stationary center support, and the stationary center support can be used for bolting a post or some type of fixture. In this example, what you're seeing on top in gray is an upper tooling plate. And in this example, you're seeing some pick and place products that are actually installed on the upper stationary tooling plate. So the casting of the CRD allows for this. You can actually have the rotary dowel plate, and then on top is a stationary plate that's bolted to the casting of the actual CRD. And you can install, in like this example, rotary pick and place units, which would be linear. And you still have an access hole through the center. So if you need to run any type of cables, we can take care of that through the access hole that's in the casting in the center of the product. So that's a visual for you just to see how that works. All right. So when you talk about accuracy and repeatability, I've mentioned it a few times with regard to this unique feature of the roller pinion technology in the CRD product. Accuracy and repeatability is important, especially whenever you're taking care of an index move. So the zero backlash roller pinion and gear design of the CRD, it does result in high accuracy, high repeatability, and that's important at the actual fixture and part station, so at the radius. So in the example, if we take a look at the upper right corner, if you can see that in the upper right corner, you're going to see just a visual of a indexing dial plate. And on that indexing dial plate, you can see that there's some individual green wafers. They're labeled at the stations as A, B, and C. These particular wafers, if you were to look at this in a plan view, in the center of the screen, looking down on top in a plan view, we can take a closer look at this and give you an idea of what high repeatability and high accuracy is. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to locate the yellow circles into a very repeatable and accurate location on those wafers. And so if we were to look at the first one, you will see that those yellow circles are scattered. They are scattered and they are not hitting the center of the target at all. So you would not have very good accuracy or repeatability in this case. It is very scattered, not very good for repeatability or accuracy. In the center, you can see that all of the yellow circles are in one corner. So you've missed your target. Your target is missed because you're trying to hit the center of it. This is very repeatable because you do have all of the yellow circles in one location, but your accuracy is low here. You're not hitting the target. So what Nexen's CRD product enables you to do is it gives you that high repeatability and high accuracy where you see all of the yellow circles have made their way into the center of the target on the wafer. Okay. So that takes us to the power source of the mechanical indexer. So the CRD product line, the MR series, is designed so that you can install a motor or perhaps a gearhead and a motor to the actual product. So what we do is we have the input, and the input is a motor adapter. If we look at the visual on the left of the CRD, you'll see that we have a square aluminum motor adapter underneath the X in the actual visual down at the bottom. And that motor adapter is configured for the actual application. It's designed to allow for a very easy fold up of a gearhead or a motor. Now, that just depends on the application, and that's where we can assist you. I talked earlier about the ratios. Sometimes an additional ratio may be needed in order to get the reflected inertia back to the input to be a nice match for the actual motor. And so sometimes a gearhead is needed, sometimes a gearhead is not needed. And that's where we'll help with assisting on the power source. The nice thing about it is that the motor adapter can be configured very easily from Nexen so that we can take care of putting the gearhead on or the motor. We're just going to go off of the drawings that you supply. What we're going to utilize is a clamp collar design. And on the right, what we're showing is where the clamp collar to our input of the pinion is. The clamp collar is nice because it will make sure that the engagement of the drive shaft is secure. And typically that is going to be a shaft like we're showing without a keyway, but we can certainly work with you on all of those needs. And so that's important because now we're going to actually get into the power source of the actual CRD product line. So thank you very much for the time, and I'll go ahead and leave it to the questions now.